In the fall of 2012, 5 citizens were appointed to an Arts Advisory Committee by the Battle Lake City Council, and thus began the long process of planning how the community wanted to implement a streetscape project. The result? Battle Lake is now one of only 6 communities across Minnesota to receive the designation of being an Arts Legacy City. A few days prior to the project's dedication, we met with Reba Gilliand, one of the committee members.
The beginning of the project had to do with the Highway 78 reconstruction. About that time, somebody said, hey, wait a minute, we're going to have all new sidewalks. So let's have public art on those sidewalks. And simultaneously, we had learned about the local government grant that LROC had. The city needed to appoint an art advisory committee that would decide what this project was going to be. We came up with the themes. We decided that we wanted local artists involved, and we wanted it to be a whole community-wide project. We knew that Annette Holstein, who was a local mosaic artist, had led other community-wide mosaic projects, and we knew she'd be great. So we asked her if she would be willing to take part in this.
Artist Annette Holstein worked with many volunteers, creating beautiful mosaics to grace the new benches and planters along Battle Lake's new sidewalks. We found her working across the street.
Today I'm sealing the edges of the mosaics that we placed in the backrests of the benches. And this is my final step in this process. We started in July of last year, and it took 8.5 months. When we started, it was so hot outside, and when we finished, the snow was melting for the next summer.
Can you tell us about the designs used in these mosaics?
The 3 themes that we were working on were agriculture, natural resources, and recreation. And we included a winter recreation too, because there's a lot of that around in this area. And we tried to focus on elements that are local. For instance, we included a bald eagle and loons and cattails and herons and all of the different wildlife that we see if you just take a walk out in the woods or by a stream. And recreation, we included ice skating, sailing, summer, winter biking. You know, we tried to encompass the 4 seasons here in Battle Lake. First, we were at the school for a while, and then when school started, we had to move to a different place. It was a house on Summit Street. We were in the garage, but then eventually it got too cold to be in the garage, so then we had to pick up everything and move it into the house. Fortunately, we had tables and a nice work spot, and that's where we worked the rest of the winter. Not just artists, but other people too from the community, people who had never had any experience whatsoever with mosaics, and then people who had very little experience or interest in art. But the funny thing is that some of those people are the ones that stuck with us the longest because they really enjoyed it. And they enjoyed the camaraderie, and it was a really good experience. And one of my greatest joys of this whole thing was to see people and hear people say that they went out and they looked at things now because they were working on one and they had to see how it looked. Like they would say, you know, I realize now what silos look like, and different silos have different designs on them, and the same with barns and different things that we worked on. It really opened the participants' eyes to the world around them, and that was very rewarding.
And then we asked Paul Boyum, who's a metal artist, if he would be willing to do artistic bike racks.
I've been kind of doing metal sculpture and making things out of metal all my life. I started welding when I was probably 12 years old. About 8 years ago, I got a product that went really well on a national level, and quit what I was doing before, and I'm fully into metalwork, metal sculpture. I do mostly smaller items that are a little lower priced, easier to sell, easier for people to buy and own. I do make large pieces on commission. All of my work involves a certain amount of recycled materials. The things I make repetitively are cactus, when I was thinking about going to Phoenix, and rattlesnakes, and whatever else comes along. bike racks are on 4 different themes, a family, and then a set of corn stalks, some fishing poles, and some cattails. The sculptures for the planters are a great blue heron and a bunch of cattails. And I'm real excited about the way the new downtown Battle Lake is going to look.
Now we have 20 mosaic panels that took 8.5 months to complete. We had 133 people working on them, 1,971 person hours, and that was just on the mosaic part. Well, we had 3 volunteers who started working on building the planters and the benches, and they had a very small cardboard model to work from. And from that, they built the most beautiful benches and planters upon which the mosaics are placed. And then toward the end, when it took the concrete pouring, they had another crew out there, again, volunteers, who poured all the concrete and who did all the sealing and everything. So it really shows how a community can come together and leverage the opportunity like the Lake Region Arts Council grant and the Highway 78 project into something that the whole community can take pride in for decades and decades to come.
I would like to tell you how very, very special Battle Lake has become because of receiving this grant. Battle Lake is now one of only 6 cities in the state of Minnesota that will have the designation of being an arts legacy city. And I think that deserves a round of applause for yourself. Of the cities that we have worked with, this project in particular has taken that idea of involving the community above and beyond what we ever expected for this grant. The hours that you've heard Reba talk about that the community has put into making these gorgeous mosaics and the metal sculptures is really astounding.